Hey guys, how you doing? This is Manga, etc. and I'm here today to do an overview or review or discussion for elDLIVE season number one. And today I'm not by myself. I've actually got a special guest with me, so I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
Hey guys, I'm Coin Operated or Jake. I have a YouTube channel called Coin Operated, which I do anime, manga, whatever.
So, so it's basically a bit of an all-around channel.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That's cool. So we're gonna start things off, and we're just gonna have a brief summary of what season one was really just all about, and I'm gonna let Coin Operated take it from here.
So yeah, elDLIVE is a show about a boy named Chuta Kokonose. One day he gets chosen by the space police to be a officer for them, and he's put to the test and discovers that there's an alien inside him when he used to think that it was just a voice inside his head. And then that's when stuff starts getting crazy, and it's basically a monster of the week type show with a standard story that goes through the background of him growing up and learning about his feelings and becoming a better person. So that's basically what it's about.
Yeah, yeah, that's very good. Yeah, that was basically what it was about. And yeah, I do agree with you that it was kind of a monster of a week. When I was looking back at it, doing just some research for this video, I realized how if you look at it episode by episode, I'd say episodes one, two, three, four, five, and no, what so one, two, three, four, and five. Those were all about just the introduction, and then we got D Millie coming in for on the first time, and then there was a couple more episodes which linked into the whole Doctor Love coming into the story, and then we had I think it was episode 9 and 10, which was really the monster of the week kind of episodes. Yes, there was a bit of a link with the whole Sonakata not liking the small tutor thing, and then we had the final two episodes, which again was about D Millie, but more on the side of Vega being a traitor and them defeating him. So, what did you like? What did you dislike about the season one?
Well, one thing that I really liked was that they had like a really huge, diverse cast of like different aliens all over the place.
Okay.
And they spent a little bit of time on each of them, but not like a whole lot of time. Usually they focused on the main crew, which was,
Yeah.
Chuda and Misuzu and Chips, and then later on Nina and Veronica with Dr. Love.
Yeah.
One thing I didn't like though was the way that they kind of like made this format that elDLIVE was kind of like a family type thing, and like everybody was super connected, but then they didn't really focus on elDLIVE that much as the police force. It was
Okay.
mostly like we're gonna go on these MCs, and that's really what we're gonna focus a whole lot on. But we're gonna make it like out to be this thing that should be everybody, kind of. I'm not sure if I'm saying it right.
No, what you're saying, it sounds fine. It sounds fine. I think for me, really, one thing, well, a thing that I didn't like was how was it mostly in the earlier episodes where, because they were Chuta and Sonokata, they was also students. They was also going to school as well, and there was things that they did. Where I was thinking, I don't know how schools are in the US, but in the UK, that like it wouldn't run. Like for example, there was an episode where Sonokata she just got up and said, "I'm leaving class now." That wouldn't run in the UK. And also there was the scene where Inspector Chips he was in the android suit, whatever you want to call it, and he just comes into the school and he's like, "Yeah, I'm Sonokata's mom. I'm taking her." But the teachers weren't even sure if that was her mom, and they just took, they just ended up out of the school. Like, I think the series really did take the piss out of the school system, and like it's not a big problem, but it's something that I noticed and it bugged me, kind of thing. I don't know, is that something that you noticed as well?
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I mean, because I haven't been in school in like forever. But yeah, I usually the way it would work, the parent has to go to the office. They can't just show up in class and
Yeah,
be like,
yeah,
"Hey,
yeah.
yeah, they're coming with me. Bye." You know?
Yeah, this is just something that I noticed. And another thing that also not a big problem as well, but it's just something that I noticed, the whole thing with how we have, so we know Tutor, and he's really like he's traumatized by the whole, he blames himself basically for the whole incident that happened with his friends.
Yeah.
And there was an episode where we find out that all the friends are still alive, and I don't know, that kind of bugged me because it made me think, if you saw, because it was Gucci that was seen first, and you're seeing he was seen still alive. So I'm
Yeah.
thinking, if you took him, why didn't you take the others, kind of thing? It's just something that crossed my mind, and it's just something that bugs me. Just not like majorly, but it's like, did you really think this through, kind of thing? I don't know. You feel the same way?
Yeah, I had that down like as one of the things that I didn't like. That, they kind of like mentioned the truth about his friends, relieving his traumatizing feelings where he's like, "Oh, I'm good now." But then they hardly go over it until like the very end when they're like, "Oh yeah, we got all this secret information on what happened to your friends." You know? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they're like, they don't say anything about it because they have that final battle and it's just like, boom, all right, cool, whatever. We mentioned it like twice in the show.
No, yeah, that is, but that is something that probably will, it needs to come up again later on. I don't know, not necessarily season two, but it does need to come up again within the series.
I mean, I understand kind of like how they were doing it because I would say that this season is kind of like the entire thing's an introduction to Chuta becoming like a true elDLIVE officer, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then like anything after this would be like him going on maybe journeys to somewhere else, maybe going to go find his friends or something like that.
Mm.
One thing though that I kind of really had a problem with is the fact that Delu would constantly be disappearing because of the way Chuta like would be feeling sad or not confident.
Yeah,
Is that ever
that
gonna
is
go
something.
away?
Well, we might as well start talking about characters right now. So let's start with Drew. So whatever, how we pronounce his name. So we know that he's a alien. We know that, what else do we know? We know that he's part of Tutor and he's really linked to Tutor. Tutor is feeling this, basically any sort of negativity, he starts to fade away. And now my problem with that is really with Tutor himself. I don't have a problem with Drew fading away where he's feeling negative emotions,
Mhm.
but really it's really about Tutor feeling sad, or feeling, what's the word I'm looking for? Responsible for the whole incident with his friends. That's really what Drew fading away is mostly about.
Yeah.
And my problem is that we've seen Shooter overcome this problem already via the whole Gucci incident, and this also leads into my problem with how his friends are still alive. So it's like every time you see one of his friends again, is Shooter gonna go back into this slump of feeling responsible?
Yeah, and then he becomes helpless because he can't use Delu at all, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh well, I probably just got into a situation where like I need my powers, but oh, because I'm feeling bad, I can't do anything, And it's like a double-edged sword almost because he's like, I'm feeling bad and now I'm helpless. Dang.
yeah. So it's just kind of like, are we gonna is, are we gonna keep repeating this whole this cycle of how Tutor gets upset, so Drew disappears, and then he overcomes it, and then yeah, it's just like a cycle and repeat kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I felt personally that Tutor overcoming his whole guilt for the incident happened too quickly. Not the
Or
season, I mean the whole series in general. Well,
oh
not
yeah.
maybe not necessarily all of it, just maybe most of it,
Mhm.
and then maybe have like the last two seasons where he's good to go. But I don't know. What do you feel about that?
I mean, I understand that like he got over it, maybe not completely, but it's not always even just those friends. It's like anybody. If he feels responsible for something, that's when it happens. Like
Yeah,
he can't take responsibility over something or else he's gonna end up having these feelings where like, oh man, it's my fault. You know, and then
mm,
that stuff will
but
happen.
I guess that's done. So there is space for his character development to happen. I guess maybe that's why Akira Amano is doing that.
Yeah. Well, it felt like he kind of got over being like that because during the part towards the end, he was like really cool and really confident and doing
Yeah,
stuff on his own, and then all of a sudden it's just like he's back in this slump, almost like
yeah,
he's like getting into some type of depression type stuff almost.
yeah. No, I completely agree with that. But like I said, maybe it's just something that he would get over as the series goes on. So uh, d- if I'm honest, most of the characters don't really have nothing interesting about them to talk about. But there is Sonakata that we can talk about, because what we know about Sonakata so far is how at the beginning of the series she didn't want. She had problems with Shooter for whatever reason. I don't. Is that ever addressed? Why she didn't want Shooter to join?
I think it's just maybe like a tsundere thing, like because you see that she ends up like kind of having feelings for him, and
Yeah,
they mentioned the whole thing with the smell, and it's because
yeah,
he's becoming mature and she wants to be mature, and the things like that.
yeah, yeah. We have that, and on the side, on the other side of that, we have the whole thing where we know that she's part of this project, which I always forget the name of the project, and
Yeah, it's like the whatever Doctor Love's like full name is, like Stallnerk or s-
yeah,
something
that
like that.
the project, and that essentially links her to Dr. Love, where we find out that Sonokata she had all SPH organs implanted to her, and the end result of that is that she lost her some of her memories, some of the memories of the time. So for me personally, she's probably the most interesting character so far, because I want to know what exactly happened, why she lost the memories, what are these memories she lost.
Yeah, I mean, besides Chuta, she's really the only one that actually has a story. I mean, they
Yeah,
kind of touch a little bit on Veronica because she also
yeah,
has that whole I'm the competitive alien
yeah.
thing, but really nobody else they go into detail about anything
No,
about them.
no. We had Inspector Chips, which was really he was just really annoying for me, and I think it's because he finishes all his sentences with Chew.
Yeah.
So he'll say something, so like "Hello, Chew, how are you, Chew?" And I think that adds to my annoyance of the character.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's like with Doctor Love, he's like in the series for like half of it, and he doesn't really get much screen time, so it's hard to form an opinion. With Nina, same thing. She hardly speaks much as well. And then we
Yeah.
have Veronica, who, like you said, they touch upon her being the whole being about victory and being very competitive kind of character. So at this moment in time, it is really hard to have a favorite character, and at the same time, it's really hard to dislike a character because they haven't done nothing to dislike. But at this moment in time, who would you say your favorite character is if you do have one?
Hands down, it's gonna be Melius, and they only touch on him like once, and I think it's on like episode 3.
Who's that again?
He's the crescent moon guy that kind of looks like a
Okay.
banana that has the
Okay,
super
yeah.
buff
So,
arms. I just like his character's design, and I'm like,
the
yeah,
character design, yeah, I can understand that.
yeah.
I
I was
can
like, that
understand
dude's
that.
cool.
For me personally, I don't have a favorite character as of yet, but I think eventually my favorite character will be Veronica simply because of her competitive side, and I just see it ending up leading to some entertainment moments within the series itself.
Yeah. And plus, there's that whole story of how Nina, Veronica, and Misuzu were all in the academy together.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
maybe
yeah.
they
When
could
they
touch
were,
on that sometime later on.
yeah, definitely that is something they could touch upon. Um, so yeah, I think that's it for characters. Unless you wanted to add something else to that.
No, because like you said, I mean, they didn't really go into depth on the characters. I mean, there were a crap ton of characters, but
Yeah,
they didn't really. They just kind of introduced them and then threw them away
yeah,
at almost at the same time.
yeah. So yeah, okay, so let's move on. What's the next thing up for debate?
Um,
Just other things and things we liked or disliked, isn't it?
yeah.
Okay, so I think I don't know. With this whole Vega character, he is actually, I don't know if you knew this, but he is actually an anime exclusive character, so he wasn't in the manga.
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, I found that out. He was designed by Akira Amano, so the person who created the series did design him,
Yeah.
but he wasn't in the manga, and he's only in it for 2 episodes. So for me personally, finding out his whole because he did have a little backstory, but because he's only in it for 2 episodes, it was hard for me to when you just feel for a character. It was hard for me to feel for him because he wasn't really in it for long enough, and I feel like they should have spent more time. Like if they put him in the series earlier on and built up his story just little by little, then maybe I'd have felt for him more. But what did you feel about the character?
Well, I like kind of how they set him up as this older brother character for Chuta, and like how Chuta was looking at him like he was that. And
Yeah,
then I was actually surprised that he was able to like man up, I guess, once it came time to like go fight Vega because of those feelings and the way that we know that Chuta is.
mm,
But there was the whole thing about the whole family being threatened, but he didn't really seem remorseful at all because he was like, I've been waiting for this, like, and it's like, okay, well, you just told us how your family's being threatened, and then you're gonna be like, uh I wanted to do this, okay. It's
no,
like
I hear that.
you're contradicting yourself. But yeah, I mean, he wasn't a bad character, but it was kind of weird because he's like, I guess the best thing to compare it to would be like Two-Face from Batman. He's like
Okay, just
one
two
side of the
sided.
coin and then like
Yeah,
the other side. Like he had these two faces to
yeah,
show off.
conflicting. Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned how the whole brother thing, and I mentioned this in my reviews as well, that like I wasn't feeling the whole brother thing, and that goes back to how they didn't give his character time to build up to things because it was literally the first 5 minutes of episode number 11, I think it was, where Tutor meets him for the first time, and it's just after the intro, Tutor's already calling him brother,
Yeah.
and calling him a brother after such a short time, where you've hardly interacted with him, is just something that I wasn't feeling. Like, can you understand that?
Yeah, I can totally understand that.
So
I think though it was like, even though I agree with you, like I didn't feel it. I think I could believe though that Chuta was feeling it by the way he was acting. Like, you know, Because he was
Uh,
acting like that little brother, like where if you have a little brother and they're like following you around and want to do the things that you do, just because
mm,
you admired him.
um, I can get it, but like, I'm just not. I'm not feeling it, kind of thing, and I do. I don't think my opinion on that is gonna change
Yeah.
really. Yeah. Well, in regards to things that I liked, I think, like, cause like you said earlier on, this is an introduction season, and I think it was a solid introduction. It does solidly introduce Tutor, who is essentially the main character, and Sonakata, who I think will be like the second main character. In regards to like comparing it to other series, it's probably not as strong as a start as other series. I've had other series which have had a stronger start, but I do believe as the series goes on, it will get better. I reckon because you mentioned as well how it was like a monster of the week kind of thing. I reckon eventually we'll have a season where it's not a monster of the week, it's a monster of the season kind of thing. And yeah, I'm not exactly at this moment in time looking forward to season two, but I do think I will continue. I would live on when it does come about. What about you?
Yeah, I'd definitely be interested in seeing where they take it from here. I know the manga has been finished for a while, so
Oh, is
they
the manga
definitely.
actually finished?
Yeah, I looked it up and they said, or it said that the manga was finished, that he was done
Okay,
making it.
that's cool.
So they definitely have the material to go on that.
Yeah,
And
so you're going to continue, sorry.
so I mean, they wouldn't be doing any of that funky stuff where they have to make certain anime original stuff
Yeah,
because they're catching up to the manga, but then they just surpassed it, and then
yeah,
all
yeah.
of that stuff.
Okay, so that's cool. So it's really basically down to how well the anime has done. If it's going to continue or not, then.
Yeah, I'm not sure how people feel about it because I didn't really look at maybe the ratings that they're giving on Mal or anything like that. I know I enjoyed it a whole lot, and it did a really good job of like the way they ended it. Because some shows, screw that up completely. Like it's just
Mm.
like, oh, big cliffhanger, but we're never gonna get a season two.
Yeah. That is true. Actually, now that I think about it, yeah, it does. It it ends in a kind of way where there's more, but that could be the end point if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you.
yeah, because I know I've said this in maybe a couple of my reviews, but the way that elDLIVE is set up, it could probably go on forever if they really wanted it to, because it's uh, like a cop show or something, like a TV show where it's one of those, every week we got this situation to take care
Yeah,
of, so let's do that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they could make that go on forever if they really wanted to.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely a series where you could easily fill in some anime exclusive stuff. I definitely agree with you. And I know that I'm not gonna touch upon it too much because like if you didn't know, guys, now you know. The same person who created this series also created Hitman Reborn. I would love to see an anime exclusive arc where that's incorporated because Hitman Reborn, that's all about the mafia. It's not a space mafia, but if you've watched Hitman Reborn, you know it's not no ordinary mafia. So they could easily incorporate a season, or even if they don't want to do a season, just a couple of episodes where they link the two series, and they have kind of set that up because in episode one, the references are there for Hitman Reborn, and also in the bowling episode, there's
Yeah.
references in there as well. So it is something that is possible.
Yeah, I heard that the whole or one of the reasons because of this show or for this show is like because they're thinking of bringing Hitman Reborn back and making
Okay.
more. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's true or not, but I heard that was a thing that they're
I didn't
using
know
this to
that.
bring it back.
Okay, kind of an advertising gimmick, I guess.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Well, guys, hopefully the rumors are true and we get some more Hitman Reborn because that anime didn't get finished. They cut it off after a certain point, so that is something to look forward to. But I have said everything I do want to say for this video. Do you have any closing thoughts?
No, just if you haven't seen this show, you definitely should at least try it out. Like after I think maybe episode 4-ish is when it really starts to get into the meat of the show, and that if you make it to there and you don't like it, then you don't like it. You know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what he just said right there. Definitely worth a check out. Um, I would say episode five though, because no spoilers, no spoilers. But I would say episode five. If you've gone up to episode five and you're like, nah, I don't want to watch this no more. Fair enough, stop watching it there and then. And but yeah, by episode five, you'll know if this is a series for you or not.
Definitely agree. I'll see you all next time so we can level up that otaku.
And like always, guys, I'm asking for your thoughts and opinions. If you have not already, subscribe to both of our YouTube channels. But most importantly, take care. Have a nice day.